You're watching highlights of the Solon City Council meeting on August 3rd, 2026.
My name is Anne-Marie Pinizzato. My husband is Thomas Pinizzato. I have called Solon my home since 1989 when I moved here from New York. We have lived at 34131 Somerset Drive for the past 22 years. Throughout my time in Solon, I have remained actively involved in our community. I volunteered at the schools, continue to serve at many ministries at the St. Rita Parish, and worked at Solon's Key Bank branches for 26 years. I would also like to address several concerns regarding this request. Bless you. First, we were disappointed that the applicant revised his variance request to allow a 10-foot side setback versus the original 8 without sharing that information until the meeting had already begun last time. However, we were initially uncertain whether the Planning Commission was voting on the original proposal or the revised one. When I asked whether I could speak, I was told I could not, despite previously being informed that there would be time for public comments at the end of the meeting. It was only after listening to the mayor and Tim, and I know I'm going to ruin this name, Krzwicki, that we realized the discussion had shifted to the revised request. During the month-long discussions leading up to this process, we were surprised to learn that the applicant was no longer working with the 20-foot setback. Our concerns were not only about this particular project, but also about the precedents it was set, variance could set for the future development, potentially affecting the privacy, open space, marketability, and character of our neighborhood. This meeting, our primary concern is the drainage plan. We appreciate that the city engineer has identified the need for a swale to properly manage the stormwater. After everything that has occurred with this property, we do not want drainage to become an additional problem. And with the fire that occurred at 34091, it's important to really uphold the city codes that we have. We respectfully request the opportunity to review the final survey, the final construction plans, and the completed grading and drainage plans before the work begins. I would also appreciate written confirmation from the project engineer that the proposed drainage solution has been reviewed and approved and will not create adverse impacts on our property. This process has been stressful, and in our opinion, much of that stress could have been avoided through better communication and transparency. We simply want to move forward with confidence that this project has been carefully designed and that our property will not be negatively affected. The drainage issue is just as important as the variance itself. During the previous meeting, it was mentioned that even with the garage moved back 2 feet, there would only be approximately 4 feet available to construct the swale. We remain concerned whether that space is sufficient.
One more minute.
Say one thing. If somebody ever says to you, trust me, red flags should go up.
Yeah.
Gary Kelly, pardon me, 6605 Limberlost Court, Solon, Ohio. Things that were said had me thinking, one of which was, in the dozen or so people that I spoke with since that meeting, not one person had heard of the Charter Review Commission or any of their findings, not one. Putting the ward veto up for election and possible discontinuation, I think, is a problem. I'm asking this body tonight to reconsider that vote, to rescind that vote, and to work with the community to come up with a ward veto policy or charter change that can meet the needs of both the individual residents as well as the city. The ward veto serves as a good resident check and balance. I think removing it or possibly removing it creates a real loss to the city and to the residents. They lose a check and a balance that I think has served Solon well.
Clarify that this council has an agenda. It's the standard agenda, and there's going to be 4 opportunities, which most cities don't even give you. They give you 1 opportunity. They're giving 4, but they want to do it in the order as noted on the agenda, just going forward. and you are
Petition
limited.
was received for 6958 Som Center Road, permanent parcel number 954-18022, Kevin Egan, for a lot split, a 10-foot minimum lot width variance, and a variance to not combine non-conforming lots. These items were approved at the Planning Commission, contingent upon compliance with the requirements of the Planning Department memo dated June 16th, 2026, and the Engineering Department memo dated June 17th, 2026. Mr. Kevin Egan was present and agreed to the requirements.
To pass the variances. This has been done several times. This is my ward, and we've already granted this. I believe this is now the third time.
Second.
Received for 34091 Somerset Drive, Jason Burrows, for a 10-foot side yard building setback variance for a garage addition. This item was approved by the Planning Commission 3-1, contingent upon compliance with the requirements of the Planning Department memo dated July 6, 2026, and the Engineering Department memo dated July 9, 2026, including the submittal of a professional survey, which they have submitted before the issuance of a permit. Mr. Jason Burrows and Mrs. Carmen Burrows were present and agreed to the requirements.
34091 Somerset Drive.
Jason Burrows, 34091 Somerset Drive.
Welcome.
I've proudly lived in Solon for 8 years. We value the community, our neighbors, and the pride that homeowners take in their properties. Because we're a young family with ties to the city, this project is a long-term investment in our home. And, we understand why setback requirements are in place, and we respect the city zoning's process. I do want to state that as concerns were raised, we did listen and we voluntarily revised our plans to reduce impact. So I think that speaks a little bit to some of the recent concerns. Based on the city planning meeting that we attended on 7/28, we had our garage on April 12th of 2026, and the garage, as you can see in the picture, was damaged. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to turn this tragedy into something that's positive. Rather than simply rebuilding what was lost, we saw an opportunity to correct longstanding space and safety limitations. We also understand that this is the most practical time to build it right, rather than reopening construction later. And the proposed third bay reflects a thoughtful, forward-thinking rebuild, not an unplanned expansion. Back will be 12 feet, which will leave the minimum of 10 feet as we stated on the meeting on Tuesday. It'll actually be 10 feet 3 inches. The garage will remain for personal residential use only. And the goal is to have a functional addition that works within the lot constraints. So that a one-size-fits-all comparison is not used on this request because of our unique dimensions. So if you do take a moment and take a look at the site survey, you will see that here's the existing garage and here is the proposed garage. And what's our neighbors, we really shrunk the footprint. We brought it in 2 feet from the property line and then we pushed it back 2 feet from the front of the existing garage. Because of that unique pie shape that we have on the property line, that then brings it closer to the house and further away from the property line. It also matches the aesthetics of the current configuration on the house. And then I think it's also important to note that we proactively added a fire-rated exterior wall to the neighbor-facing side of the third bay. This will be additional safety for Tom's home as well, to where if something does happen again, there's the firewall between our property and his property to add an extra layer of safety. We listened and we made changes. So the initial configuration was a 14-foot garage bay. The garage front would be flush with the existing garage. It would be a much larger footprint and a greater visual impact. So after listening to the feedback and the concerns, as you can see, we made reasonable concessions of the 12-foot, the 2 feet back, reduced the overall footprint, and then a better architectural match. Good support. At this point, the slide is off because that was from Tuesday's meeting. So we actually have 45 neighbors that have signed, and I turned in the other 13 today. that are in support of this. I think the support reflects that many residents believe the revised project is reasonable, and it also matches the current aesthetics that are in the neighborhood. One other thing to note too is, the Solon Police Department does remind us on a weekly basis that from a security standpoint, that we should lock up our car, we should turn on exterior lights, have a security camera, bring valuables in, don't leave them in your car. So really the bottom line is a third bay means that a vehicle will be locked inside overnight instead of parked on our driveway. So we're trying to address potential security concerns as well. And also Solon has been our home, and we would hope to continue it to be our home for many years. We do have 2 young children that are in the school system. This variance is needed because of our unique property layout, not to maximize size. And again, we did proactively make changes. We received significant support from surrounding neighbors. So basically, we ask you to evaluate this revised design on its merits because it supports a thoughtful improvement and preserves our neighbors' character. So we believe this to be a reasonable request with meaningful concessions. So I want to thank you for your time.
You showed on the survey, right, is that the proposed garage here is 10 foot 3 inches from the property line, and the neighbor's house is 10 foot 4 inches, right? So the neighbor also needed a variance, and this is a variance that we've approved, a similar type of variance that we've approved on other occasions, right? So, I'm in support of this variance. I think if we don't approve this variance, then it opens this council and the city up for litigation, because why would we approve one for the next door to be 10 foot 4 inches when this one we would say no because it's 10 foot 3 inches? So I just want to put that point out there.
All for just this reason, I think, that you bring up, just because it opens Pandora's box when it comes to that. I mean, we have ordinance in places for a reason. If the ordinance isn't good for some reason, then we should just remove the ordinance or change the zoning instead of filing variances. With that said, I guess
You could have done this with extending the existing garage back, because if you extended the existing garage back to the deck, you could have not needed you would add more depth, and you could have put actually more cars in the garage than what they are going to have with this proposed garage and not interfere with the neighbor at all. And I think that would alleviate the practical difficulty argument if you squared it off.
Changes that were made to the original plan here, it basically conforms with the rest of the neighborhood. So I think you did a very good job of putting it all together, and appreciate the fact that you did all that. And hopefully the neighbors will, obviously you had enough of them that are okay with the project, so I'm okay with it as well.
Mr. Gunn, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Mr. Egan, for example, the planning commission consent item this morning, or before this item, is non-conforming lot. We got lots of people now coming in wanting to build on non-conforming lots, and as a city, we try to accommodate them because we understand there's no more acre lots out there, but we want people to still build in Solon and come to Solon and build. So we try to be accommodating to people. I think that's one of the reasons we have planning and in city council here. That's why I felt it was important to hear your voices to figure out what we should do on this one. So. Like I said, I've been there. I did it. I think I support it. I support this one. So I think that I'm not going to be shy and tell everybody how I feel about it. I support this one. So
I move to approve item number 2 at 34091,
shut up, Mackie.
approving a 10-foot side yard building setback variance.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lobsher? Mr. Palunas?
No.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Mr. Zelwin?
Yes,
Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
passed.
Yes. All right. So we'll go on to the next agenda item. The next agenda item.
Lansdowne Drive. I am the vice chair of the Charter Review Committee, and tonight I would like to request an amendment to the master plan to set the date to 2029. We met with Iona and Mr. Stolarski, and we want to honor that they have a number of competing priorities at this time, and doing an immediate master plan would potentially cause some challenges and strain on Solon. And so we want to work with them to put it to 2029. And in the interim, we've discussed putting together a citizens committee for land use advisory.
For the council's consideration, there is a request by the Charter Review to amend what was given to you. So if you are desirous of proceeding, I would ask that there be a motion to amend this ordinance to change one particular date to 2029, have a vote on the amendment.
Did you do that? Okay.
To reflect the 2029 date as requested by the Charter Review Committee.
Second.
All right.
The charter would like to table this and postpone until we have a full council. To vote.
Sounds fair. Good enough.
We're still in the middle of a hearing on the fourth item, which was read by the clerk, for the charter changes. The Charter Commission the Charter Commission has now requested that this matter be tabled for tonight. We'll keep it on the agenda, but it will not be voted on tonight by this council. The open meeting is still open on this agenda if somebody wants to talk on it. If nobody does, we'll then go to number 5, but there will not be a formal vote on this item tonight.
6605 Limberlost Court. Is my understanding the commission is composed of 9 members. I believe that's correct. If I'm not, I apologize. 1 representative selected by each ward council person to represent his ward, and 2 selected by the mayor. If 7 members are representative citizens in their ward, why was there never any attempt at informing the citizens and or finding out by a questionnaire or something of that sort their thoughts and ideas on the charter items being discussed for change? I'm not saying on the whole charter review thing, but those items that were being discussed for change before they were presented to council for consideration. I know last meeting I spoke, if the residential to different residential zoning is approved by the voters, that means that 4 people on council can change the zoning on any residential property. 4 people. Okay, to me that's no checks and balances by the citizens of Solon.
Thank you.
I've Limberlost Court, and just in case anyone wonders, we've been in Solon since 1975. We've been here over 50 years. You know, we're not new to this community. One of the things that has been this particular recommendation for a charter change is that we went to 1-acre lots back. Started, I think, in 1977, then went to, again all the way to 1994 when it was finalized. We went to 1-acre lots for a reason. We wanted to control population density. We didn't want to overwhelm the infrastructure. We didn't want the aesthetics of the community to change. We wanted to keep property values up. There was a number of reasons why we went to one slew of recommendations for variances. There's a ton, 80% perhaps of the houses in Solon that have been built since 1990 are 1-acre lots or larger. This is not a good thing to have changes in residential to residential zoning that can be that massive. I suggest that this be left out and not put on the ballot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark, we live at 5119 Som. We have been in Solon for 41 years, and I actually in the past have served on the Charter Review Committee. In regards to the proposed, have no bearing on a 32-acre property on Route 91, which does happen to be next door to us, but I find that hard to believe, because if the zoning changes to multifamily and apartments or clusters are proposed there, our Ward 4 should be able to decide if this is something they want next door, in their backyard, or across the street from them. In other words, the veto would eliminate the choices that the neighbors have. When a neighbor behind us wanted to build Conservancy and the Metro Parks to allow this land to remain the beautiful jewel that it is, and possibly allow the citizens to access the Conservancy property that abuts 5151 Som, along with the trails and beauty that exist on it, something Solon residents have not had access to in the more than 20 years since the Land Conservancy purchased 118 acres. Solon calls itself a green city or the city of trees.
One more minute, ma'am.
I'm done. But developing every
By the high school. I'm not going to divulge my age, but I've been here a long time, and I've seen a lot of things. And I've had, my father was on zoning. My uncle helped, Al Jablonski helped set up the zoning in the city, where we have industry on one side and we have residential on the other. I've mentioned that before. Every time I've stood at this podium, I have talked about things related to property. I've just listened to people discuss things they were fighting. The people that live in this town. We can all remember a few things here. Me particularly could remember the development they wanted to put behind Marks. Everyone got pretty upset about that. I happen to live in Thornbury. We know what was going to happen with that Lusek farm. We were going to have all kinds of things show up in there because it was going to be mixed use. What the heck was that going to mean? And what was that going to turn into? I've listened to the things get very variable. That's a problem. That protects our property values. So I'm with this fellow here. Said, let's rescind this thing and think this over and bring this out to the citizens a little bit more. I mean, I would like to get more information. I think the one-word veto, that is not an archaic thing. That's sacred to what we have in the city. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, could you please state your name and your address for the record? I didn't
Of Ward 2 for making this donation, and he's making subsequent donations for every couple of years coming forward. A lot of people come to meetings and speak. He actually came forward with a plan and is actually donating money, and it's a very, very good cause, and I thank you, and I move that we accept the donation under suspension.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second, and would like to vote, please.
The items that we talked about at the meeting last week and the master plan, which was voted on tonight. Thanks for listening and understanding the capacity of staff, and look forward to working with you on the Land Use Advisory Committee at the beginning of 27.
Thank you.
Retired after 30 years today, this afternoon. As 25 years as our assistant chief, he had a profound impact on our department during its growth over many years. Handling 2 buildings, new builds, 1 building renovation, and all the apparatus. So congratulations, Steve.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Drive. I am a member of the Charter Commission, and I just wanted to get up and say something on the ward veto. Most of us support the elimination. We feel that everyone should have 1 vote. The ward veto essentially allows for some members of the community to have a vote worth more than others. And that's kind of based on arbitrary lines designating the wards. We feel that things should be done in the best interest of the city and of the citizens of the city as a whole. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Tabled, is that correct? And what does that mean, it got tabled, the amendment on?
I'll discuss this with you after. I'll give you
Thank you.
Understanding of that, okay? Thank you.
Okay, anyone else want to speak? Oh, hi, welcome.
Hi, I live at 7169 Selworthy Lane. I just want to thank the council for giving, and this is the second season that I've had a plot there. The next day, on July 16th, we could potentially contaminate the food through ground and water absorption via the roots, as well as contaminate the plants through vapors absorbed through the leaves and foliage. It was advised that effects from exposure to mothballs being in the vicinity from the vapors can cause irritative effects on the eyes, nose, mouth, throat, and that smelling them indicates you are ingesting the chemical itself, as mothballs are almost entirely composed of the volatile element itself, which sublimates from solid compound into a vapor. They were unable to describe the amount of risk posed given the mothballs not being used in a method consistent with the label. They did state that the placement of mothballs outdoors in such a manner was against federal law regulating the use of pesticides. as the negligent actions of the city pose a clear health gardeners, and also that we be credited for the 2027 season and guaranteed a chance to start over, growing after the threat of poisoning has passed. Additionally, I ask that after the soil testing and remediation is completed, that the assumption of garden management be delegated to the gardeners as requested, with continued support and funding from the city for needed upgrades to fencing and animal barriers and maintenance of the grounds as we see appropriate. We ask that the appropriate safeguarding policies be considered to prevent further city actions from putting unsuspecting residents at risk, not only in the community garden, but also in the schools, parks, establishments, or any other space in the city. Thank you to the council for the important work you do. I really appreciate it.
I have a feeling we're celebrating your birthday 50th of 4th of July. I'm going to talk about that for a second. I drove down the intersection of 43 and 91. I actually made a video. It was pretty pathetic. There was really no celebration. We are celebrating bike paths. That's somebody who has something coming into their ward, into their backyard, across the street, into their neighborhood, shouldn't have a vote that carries more weight. That's nuts. Of course we should have more weight. Would we allow somebody from, I don't know, Cincinnati to tell us in Cleveland what we should be doing? No, we should be able to have the larger voice, the bigger platform. Okay? It's not equal. When something was coming in my neighborhood, that winery, that was going to...
3 doors down from the Gazdag property that is up for sale pending. And the woman that needs to go on the ballot for the people. We fought hard against us, just the corner at Som and Miles, to not let the lots that were built there built. That property that sits on Som Center Road, if it goes to a no veto power and also goes off the ballot completely, that could be multiple family homes there put in with a variance. It could be an apartment building there, for crying out loud. Park space. That's what that whole area is about up there. Tied to the metro parks, it's about park space and people be able to live and keep some park areas in their community. And all that talk, he told me nothing would ever get developed on that property. That's a quote. My driveway with the traffic on Som. You throw that on top of it with a hill that you can't see over, right up the alley. People are going to die there. It's a hazard. So please reconsider your thoughts on what you're going to do with that property. It's meant to be open space. It's meant to be safe, and let's try.
Excuse me.
Kelly, 6605 Limberlost Court. I'm really against the ward veto, but I'm especially against the other one, which is choosing to change residential zoning to different residential zoning. For example, single family to multi-family or, apartment buildings, which would be multifamily, changing that. When a person comes to Solon and purchases property, they need to do their due diligence. Sorry about that. I did that. I checked every space around me to make sure that everything around me was zoned residential before I purchased residential. Now what you're saying is that can be changed. So my choice of where I am can be changed by this, I own a lot of acreage. I can sell off my acreage, have it rezoned, and if with this residential zoning passing, this change, without anybody else but the people on council approving it. I found that solution. And again, I ask that you rescind this whole thing that's been going on. It needs more discussion, and I think you're going to find that out. And if it passes or doesn't pass, let's say it doesn't pass. That hasn't solved your problem if it doesn't pass. Okay? If it does pass, it certainly isn't going to make a lot of people in the community happy, the residential community. You need a better.
Drive. I also served on the Charter Review Committee. I represented Ward 3. Jeremy Zelig asked me to be on it. I'll give the dissenting opinion. I'm against abolishing the. Last week, I asked our planning director, I said, at what point do we stop building in Solon? I asked the committee. I said, at what point do we say, we're built out, we stop? Guess what the answer was? I don't know. Do we just keep building and building and building until we run out of space to build something on? That's why I was a very big advocate, and I kept pushing him, when you're going to have the master plan. I think we should have a master plan that says, when we hit a certain amount of, when we lose enough green space. I also see, I've lived in Solon for 43 years. I moved here in 1983. And one of the things I've noticed, I've seen a degradation in our city. I've seen the houses don't look as good. The zoning enforcement isn't really. I got some houses on my street that look like they belong in East Cleveland. They're a mess. They're a disaster. I talked to the zoning inspector. We can't do anything. What do you mean? Take them to court, fine them, do something. But I've seen a slow degradation in the city, and I'd like to turn that around. I really would.
I'm not sure if I should say thank you or not, after being so rude to me. I've always been nice to you, too. All right, anyone else have anything they want to say? So that's it for the public hearing, for the comments from the audience. Now we'll go with comments from the council. Mr. Khan?
No comments tonight. Thank you. Happy birthday, Councilman Bentley.
Thank you.
I want to, for the record of council, people are talking about a property on Som Center Road. I have no clue what you're talking about. So I just want to put that out there. Nothing has come to me as a council representative of Ward 3 regarding the property on Som Center Road. So as far as I know, there's no rezoning, there's no proposed plan, there's nothing regarding this. It hasn't come to planning.
Okay, this is not a discussion. Well, I'm through with you guys. It's not a discussion.
One thing I did want to bring up, and I did talk to Chief Perkins earlier about, was the e-bikes. I'm getting an awful lot of feedback from the community on the e-bikes, and I think we're all seeing them zipping around. And I know at the time, I just want to state that the state does have laws regarding the e-bikes, and they're depending on the class of bike that it is. But is it time to maybe revisit it, because certain communities have looked at a little stricter laws? And I know Chief Perkins, I guess I'll let you talk, but we talked about maybe looking at the helmet laws and things like that.
I mean, if we are willing to move forward with the helmet legislation, we would obviously support that from a safety forces standpoint. Other than that, there are adequate laws on the books for us to enforce these e-bike violations, and we are working to do so within the confines of the current staffing and calls for service that we're addressing. We need a partnership from our community. We're not going to enforce our way out of every issue. We simply can't be everywhere at once, and I don't necessarily think we need to write traffic violations for every youth that we see doing something wrong, but we do want our parents to parent and help us address this issue so that we can keep everybody safe.
I'm not sure you guys all know, we already voted to put the, on the ward veto, it's on the ballot, right? It's going to be on the ballot, so that's really, and I think the comments are right. We should all vote on that, and that's the one we put on.
Sure, we had meetings on this already, originated by the chiefs, about the e-bikes, what to do, what not to do, other cities, what they're doing. We've been roundtabling it. The chiefs are both leading it, especially the police chief, my assistant law director's on it also. And we're also getting input because the schools are doing some things, the metro parks are doing others, helmets, speed, enforcement. It's a growing issue, but I can tell you at least the chiefs are looking into it, and they have. We started this about even 2 months ago, so it's evolving. Just so you know, I want to give a shout out to both chiefs because, not surprisingly, they're on it, and they've been on it. So, thank you.
That's a wrap from the council. Tonight you saw neighbors and the city wrestle with garage variances and stormwater, big charter questions like the ward veto and residential zoning, plus emerging issues from e-bikes to the community garden. With the charter items tabled for more discussion and the ward veto heading to the ballot, there's plenty more to follow, so keep an eye out for future meetings and highlight reels.